Good morning, everyone. So today our topic is petrochemicals. Dear students, what do you mean by petrochemicals? Petrochemicals are the compounds and these are kind of polymers that are derived directly or indirectly for petroleum, right? So these are the compounds which are derived from, you know, these are the compounds which are derived from petroleum. So what is petroleum? Petroleum is our fossil fuel. Okay. So we know that. So this is a fossil fuel. We got the compounds from this fossil fuel, that is petroleum. Okay, directly or by indirect method. Now let's talk about what are the different types of petrochemicals. So dear students, these are the different types of petrochemicals, right? So first one, there are first generation petrochemicals. These are the petrochemicals. These are also known as basic petrochemical products or feedstocks, right? So these are naturally occurring. For example, benzene, acetylene, okay, butylene, etc. or ethene, okay? Now, let's talk about second generation petrochemicals. So these are the petrochemicals which are obtained by the chemical conversion of first generation petrochemicals. For example, polythene, then take an example of PVC. Then we have third generation petrochemicals, which are also known as end use petrochemicals. Okay, so these are obtained by the transformation of second generation petrochemicals, for example, plastic bags, detergent, etc. So what we are saying, listen to me carefully now. See, let's suppose this is our first generation petrochemical. Let's suppose we have ethene here. Okay, ethene here. So after its chemical, what we call it? Yes, chemical conversion. Okay, when we will do its chemical conversion, then we will get polythene. Okay, we are doing polymerization here, so we are getting polythene here. Okay, so this is polythene. Okay, and then when we are transforming this polythene, we are getting a polythene bag or polythene pipes or polythene, you know, any kind of article which is made up of polythene. Okay, so this is what we get at the end. So let's suppose I am talking about polythene bag. So this is end use product. So this is end use product. So we can say that ethene is first generation petrochemical, then polythene is second generation petrochemical, and then the third one, that is polythene bags. These are the end use petrochemical, that is third generation petrochemicals. Ethene to polythene is obtained by chemical conversion, okay, by chemical conversion. And when we change this polythene, or we are transforming this polythene into this polythene bag, so we are just transforming them. Okay, we are not changing their composition or anything, we are just transforming them. So but here we are converting them chemically. So ethene to polythene, it will be converted chemically, and from polythene to polythene bag, it will be transformed. Okay, there will be a transformation. Is it clear, everyone? Okay. Now, okay, let's talk about the primary raw materials of petrochemicals. So these are of two types, natural gases and crude oil. Dear students, natural gas is a mixture of light hydrocarbons accompanied by heavy hydrocarbons. Okay. And crude oil is made up of paraffins, naphthenic, and asphaltic compounds. So nitrogen gas, we get it from the oil bearing wells, right? And it act as an important fuel source and a major feedstock for fertilizers, right? So there are many uses of natural gas liquids. First one is providing raw material for oil refinery. Then it can be used to enhance oil recovery in oil wells. Then it can be used as a raw material in fertilizers and petrochemicals. So let us explain with the help of a presentation. So dear students, first use of natural gas liquid is they provide so they act as a raw material in oil refineries. Okay, so they act as a raw material in oil refineries. Next is, so dear students, these are the four important uses of natural gas liquids. First one, they provide they are providing raw material for oil refineries. Then they are enhancing oil recovery in oil wells. Then they are used as a raw materials in fertilizers. And last one, they act as a source of energy, means they act as a fuel. Next, we will discuss about how we can separate the crude oil with the help of atmospheric distillation. Okay, dear students, let's talk about how we can physically separate the crude oil. So these are the 5 methods with the help of which we can separate the crude oil. First one is atmospheric distillation. Second one is vacuum distillation. Third one is solvent extraction. Fourth one is adsorption process. And fifth one is absorption process. Let's start with atmospheric distillation. So in this method, dear students, we are we are heating our crude oil near about 350 to 400 degrees Celsius. See, here we will use, boiling point as a weapon, because we know that if we are considering boiling point, the liquid which will have low boiling point, that will boil faster as compared to the other one, right? So that's how we will be able to separate out all the components present in the crude oil. Okay, so let's check out this picture. Okay, so this is the physical separation of crude oil. As you can see, okay, I'm really sorry. Yes. So as you can see, I have taken crude oil in this. This is our furnace. See, furnace will help to heat the crude oil. Now, this is our separation chamber. Okay. Now we will add crude oil through this inlet into this tower. Now we will heat it definitely, and the thing which will have more boiling point, that will be that will get boiled later. But the thing which have low boiling point, that will get boiled easily. So what is happening here, as you can see here, this is fuel oil, which its boiling point is 370 degree. Then we have diesel here, then we have kerosene, then we have petrol, then we have butane and propane. So it means the liquid which has, or the component which has low boiling point, that will go on the upside of the tower, and the liquid or the component which have low boiling point, that will settle down. So automatically, as you can see in this diagram, or as you can see in this picture, we have these various components which are present in our crude oil. As we all know, crude oil is made up of different paraffins, means hydrocarbons. There are some heavy hydrocarbons, there are some lower hydrocarbons. So these all components will get separated out from by this method. So this is atmospheric distillation. What are we doing here? Atmospheric distillation takes place in a distillating column. This is a distillating column, okay, at near about atmospheric pressure. Okay, so crude oil is heated to 350 to 400 degrees Celsius. And the vapors and the liquids are, piped into this distillating column. Okay, the liquid falls to the bottom. Liquid falls to the bottom and the vapor rises. Definitely, the liquid will fall down, right? So the liquid will fall down, as we know that liquid will fall down and vapor will rise in the chamber, because as you all know, vapors are in gaseous phase, right? So they will go upside and liquid will fall down. So they pass through a series of perforated trays. These are the perforated trays, as you can see. These are the perforated trays. From here, all the vapors will pass out. Okay, they will pass, upside the chamber. So heavier hydrocarbons, we all know that heavier thing always settle down. So heavier hydrocarbons will settle here. Heavier hydrocarbons will settle here. Okay. So, and they will settle down on the lower trays, and lower hydrocarbons remain as a vapor as long as, and they will condense on the higher trays. What will happen? Firstly, they will convert it into vapors, and after some time they will get condensed and they will be stay here only. Okay. Now, what happened? Liquid fractions are drawn from the trays and removed. In this way, the light gases methane, ethane. So these all are from here. We can say that the light gases methane, ethane, propane, and butane, they pass out the top of the tower. So from here, we get all the gases, right? Okay. Now petrol is formed in the top tray. So this is the petrol. Then we have kerosene, then we have diesel, then we have fuel oil, and last we have here lubricating oil. We all know that the boiling point for paraffin wax is near about 2000 degrees Celsius, right? So it can't go, it can't rise in this chamber because it has high boiling point. Okay, so for this heavy oil, we will follow the vacuum distillation process. Vacuum distillation is the similar to this process. The only change is that that process is used for the heavy hydrocarbons. Now let's talk about this vacuum distillation. See, this is the similar case. Again, we have a kind of tower here. Okay, there will be some trays. Now this vacuum distillation is taken for the heavy residue only. So remember one thing, vacuum distillation is taken for the heavy residue only, right? So that is for heavy oil particles, okay, heavy oil components. So vacuum distillation we are taking for heavy residue only. Now we will take the temperature of this chamber as 450 degree, near about 450 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we are taking 450 degree Celsius temperature for this chamber. Now, this allows the heavy hydrocarbons with the boiling point of 450 degree and higher to be separated without partially cracking. Okay, so we don't want the unwanted products such as, coke and gas. So we don't want any kind of unwanted products such as coke or gas. So that's why we are using this method. So there is no partially cracking in this method. So this was the vacuum distillation. Now let's talk about the solvent extraction. Okay, now let's suppose we have, see, let's suppose we have this beaker. Okay, we have a beaker. In this, see, in solvent extraction, the heavy distillates recovered from the vacuum distillation, it can be converted into a lubricating oil. Lubricating means that is sticky kind of oil. So we want a lubricating oil. Okay, now we want to convert all the residue which we get from this distillation in this. Okay, This is not a beaker. I'm just supposing it. Okay, I'm giving you an example. So let's suppose we are using two methods in this. So there are two methods. Okay, there are two methods, first and second method. In first method, let's suppose we have a heavy distillate. Suppose this is our heavy distillate. Okay, so we are using a kind of liquid which does not dissolve it, but which dissolve the non-lubricating oil component out of it. Means let's suppose this is our component, this is our heavy distillate. It is consist of, one is lubricating part and the next is non-lubricating part. Okay, so I want this lubricating part. So what I'm doing, I am using a kind of solvent which doesn't dissolve it, but it's just dissolves this part of the component. Okay, so this is the first method. Now second method is, let's suppose I have taken this component again. Okay, it is made up of first lubricating part and second is non-lubricating part. Now I am taking a kind of liquid which does not dissolve in heavy distillate, but it causes the non-lubricating oil component to precipitate. Now it will not dissolve in it, but it will, come out as a precipitate. Are you getting it? I'll explain it again. We are taking a kind of, what I call a kind of component. Okay, this is a component. It is made up of two components, right? First one is lubricating and second one is non-lubricating. Okay, so I want to remove this non-lubricating part out of it. So I am taking a kind of liquid which is, dissolving this part only, and it left this lubricating part. So this is the first method. Second part is, it is not dissolving anything. It is just give you precipitate of this part, just precipitate of this part. So that is known as, second method of solvent extraction. Now let's talk about adsorption and absorption. We know that adsorption is a kind of surface phenomena, right? So it is a surface phenomena. Adsorption is a type of surface phenomena, and our, absorption is a kind of bulk phenomena. It is a kind of bulk phenomena, right? So surface mean we have a surface here. Let's suppose we have okay. Let's suppose we have surface here. This is our surface. Now, when the adsorption means something is absorbing on this thing only, not inside the body, then it is known as adsorption. And when we have this whole body and the thing is absorbs completely, that is known as, means into the bulk, that is known as absorption process. Okay, so this is the difference between absorption and adsorption. So in case of adsorption, let's talk about what is adsorption process. So we are using some kind of adsorbents here. Okay, for example, I am taking silica gel. Silica gel, as you have I know that you might have seen it in whenever you go to a market, you buy a new bottle or something, there is a small packet inside that. So that is silica gel's packet. Okay, it act as adsorbent. It absorb all the moisture. So this is silica gel, or we can also use a bleaching clay. Okay, so these help in absorbing the moisture. Next, we let's talk about absorption. So absorption is a bulk phenomena. So we will use some liquids, okay, some components or some solvents which use as absorbents, such as nitrobenzene, dichloroethyl ether, and liquid SO2. So this is the process of physical separation of crude oil separation. Okay, dear students, now let's talk about the production of ethylene. As you can see, this is a kind of ethylene formation tower. So here we have what I am saying. Now we will do the production of ethylene. Okay, so for this, we follow a process that is known as steam cracking process. Okay. So what is happening here? Firstly, we are doing what we are doing. We are using crude oil here. Okay. So yes. Okay. Okay, so this will be the first step of the production of ethylene. Firstly, there will be steam cracking process that involves the breakage of this H bond, okay, hydrogen and carbon bond, and we will get this ethene as a product. Okay, so what is happening in this tower? So here, this is a steam cracker tower. Here, the ethylene, yes, ethylene will form. And then this is our quick tower. Here, we will condense that or we will cool that down, because see, if we are increasing the temperature, there will be breakage of more bonds. And we don't want to form, a triple bond over there. We want to form ethylene. So that's why we will cool it down. Then that gas will travel through this gas compressor. It will get compressed here. Then we will take this gas into this tower, that is caustic tower. Here we will treat it with caustic soda and we will try to remove its impurities. Then this gas is further will get treated and then we will take it as a condensed gas. So that's how it will work. So this was the production of ethylene. Thank you so much.